Hello and welcome to another episode of Feeding Fatty. I'm Roy.
I'm Terry.
So, we are the show that we are chronicling our journey, my journey. Terry is my helper, support. I'm the one that actually needs to get in better shape, lose some weight, improve a lot of health issues. So, I appreciate her for doing that. I couldn't make it without her. And so, we on this show we try to chronicle our journey, things that we're learning, mistakes that we've made trying to help others. But we also have guests that professionals in their field that can really come on and add more value to our listeners. So today we are fortunate enough to have Maverick Willett. He is an ISSA Certified Personal Trainer, fitness and nutritionalist, or fitness nutritionalist. He is a former Army Ranger and former collegiate basketball player with a passion for helping women and mothers lose weight and regain control of their bodies. Growing up, both of his parents were competitive bodybuilders and taught him a great deal about the importance of taking care of our bodies. Maverick, thanks a lot for taking time out of your day to be with us. We certainly do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate you too. Thanks for having me. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, one thing I failed to mention is that, that is kind of your specialty, is that you are focusing pretty much explicitly on women's transformation. Not only that, but after giving birth, so that is kind of where your focus has been for the last year or so. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We focus primarily on women, moms, and this is something that we decided to do about a year ago. In this industry, you want to niche down, and that was who I resonated with the most, and who I love working with, and who Sophie loves working with. So it just kind of naturally happened.
Yep. Yeah, and we do want to say that if we had a little pre-show discussion, and your wife is part of your partnership, so y'all work together even though she's not on here with us today, correct?
Somebody's got to watch the 8-month-old. So yeah, unfortunately, she's full of all of you. I get to be with you guys.
8-month-old, is that what you said?
Oh, wow.
Are you getting
Yes,
any
yeah, he's 8
sleep?
months. We're so lucky. He sleeps through the night. He's been a good baby. I mean, we feed him the same stuff we eat. We just puree it for him, and we went away from the Gerber stuff, and his stomach is so much better for it, and he's just growing like a weed. We're so lucky. He's a great baby.
Awesome.
Oh, great age.
Yeah, 2 happiest days of your life, when your children are born, and then the second one's when you get them off your payroll. So you can look forward to that one.
Another 18 years ago. So.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, if you don't mind, let's just start out with, tell us a little bit about, how you ended up here. I know that you are a former Army and an athlete. Your parents were both competitive bodybuilders. So, I mean, it's a little bit built into your DNA, the fitness portion of this. But, you were saying that I really want to hear your story, that, you were doing this on the side, had another job, and you finally just said, this is what I want to do. I'm not looking back, and I'm going to make a success of this. So tell us a little bit about that transformation.
Yeah, of course. I was in the military. I got out and was having some trouble finding, my calling, I guess you could say. Like you said, fitness is kind of ingrained in my DNA. My parents were both competitive bodybuilders, so I grew up in that culture of fitness, and watching my mom, especially growing up, we had a very unique relationship. I mean, I didn't out bench press my mom until I was like 17 years old. So
Oh my gosh.
that was a pretty
Wow.
Yeah, she was a beast, and so that was a very unique upbringing, to compete with them in the gym and have that kind of bond. It was a very solid bond that we built, just that mutual exertion, pushing each other and achieving that stuff daily. And we had a home gym, and so it was something we did every day together. So, and learning how to eat. My mom, very, very smart with nutrition. My dad was more of a, if it fits your macros kind of guy, but she was really dialed in, and that got me a foundation of knowledge at a very young age of how to eat to change your body. And so I took that with me in my athletic career and my military career for performance then, and then now to help people change their lives through nutrition and holistically especially, and kind of heal metabolisms from the fad dieting out there, the misinformation, give people a blueprint for success for the rest of their lives. But like you said, I was Up till 2 years ago, I was working. I'd worked several different jobs. I was in car sales for a while, and nothing against car sales. I enjoyed working in the sales field, but I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I had this thing on the side that I loved doing. I loved helping people change their bodies and use my platform on social media to do that. And I was like, there's got to be more here. And I saw other people doing it. And eventually I actually hired a business coach to help me figure out how to do that. And once I figured out how to grow my the part-time job I was doing, it exploded. And I said, okay, I have to make a decision. They're both taken away from each other. Yeah. I can't be good at car sales and grow this at the same time. And I said, this is what I love. I'm going to do this no matter what. And I took that leap of faith into uncertainty. I had the secure, quote unquote, secure job here with the 401k, and I had this unknown here. And I said, I'm going to regret it forever if I don't give this a shot. So I did. I never looked back. It exploded. It's been growing ever since. I'm so grateful every day to wake up and do what I love doing. And I was fortunate enough a year and a half later for Sophie, my wife, to leave her full-time job and help me grow it as well, because it just grew beyond one person's capacity to handle. Right. So we're very lucky, and now I get to do that every single day.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's such a great story because, as we said earlier, any transformation, if it's career relationships, or our relationship with food, exercise, we've got to come to that realization that we're going to push this forward and be successful, because as long as we have one foot on each side of the line there, and it will just take eating. As long as you're kind of still nibbling on some candy and chips and things like that, it's really hard to commit to the being healthy. You got to just go all in and do everything that you possibly can to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're conditioned to stay in our comfort zone. Right. We're conditioned to avoid any kind of quote unquote danger. We are conditioned self from ages 0 to 10, and it keeps us from doing anything that could bring that danger. So we live in a conditioned state of living in fear and approval. We want other people's approval. We fear judgment, and we fear leaving our comfort zone. And so that's where I was. I was in my comfort bubble, and I was afraid to take a step into the unknown. And like you're saying, that's a huge thing with nutrition as well. A lot of people have patterns that they're used to in their behavior that have been conditioned in their mind, their internal narrative, and it's how they cope with things in their life. And to take a step outside that, it takes time, and it's a fearful step for a lot of people.
So I'm going to ask a loaded question. I mean, I'm sure there are many ways you could answer it. I don't know. How do you make that change? How do you recondition yourself to do the healthy make the healthy choices on eating? And
this is my conscience talking.
It's not easy. It's not easy, especially when the patterns are so ingrained. It's I would say one small thing at a time. I think one of the issues with mainstream nutrition advice, influencers, fad diets, it's a drastic change overnight, and often drastic change is unsustainable. And with my clients especially, I usually overload them with information, but then I say, take one small habit at a time each week to implement. Yeah. And if you can do that, if you can just do one small thing every week, after 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, you're going to be a whole new person. You're going to have all this whole new set of habits you've implemented, while simultaneously trying to understand why you have the bad bad patterns, the negative patterns that are taken away from your lives. While you understand where those come from, be gentle to yourself and try to come out of those behaviors.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Be gentle and kind to yourself. We're just we're terrible critics.
Yeah, and I'm actually taking notes because there was just so much that came out of that last sentence that you said. And I'm going to relate this all back to me. I don't even have to throw anybody else under the bus to say that.
That's good.
It's like the bad habits that that I've been in for years, and my worst one is that night eating, 9-10 o'clock at night. If I'm still up walking around, I'm ready for a bowl of popcorn or some kind of a snack, and then you go to bed, and it's harder than I don't know. There's that feeling of going to bed not totally full, that it just, and it's psychological. I realize I could go in there and go to sleep, but it's that conditioning to do it to break that habit, it's very, very difficult, very difficult. And, we try and struggle, and, we do good for weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden fall off the wagon and, back at it again. So it's something to constantly work on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing I think that you brought up was, trying to do too much at once. I've read some research that is what leads to the greatest failure rate of trying to change our healthy lifestyle or change to it. One is because, again, I'll use me for instance, like, well, I'm getting up tomorrow and I'm not having any candy, I'm not having any salt, I'm not having any of this. I'm eating right, no more of, fast food. It's all vegetables. And then I'm going to start going to the gym, and I'm going to start, running or walking 10 miles, at one time, and lifting weights, and you do all this stuff. And then, after about a week, it's like you just give out because it's so much at one time. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at any addiction program, and you look at alcoholism, you look at drug addict, food addiction, sex addiction, any kind of addiction, you'll be hard pressed to find any type of addict who has just decided, you know what, I'm done, and cut it out completely for the rest of their life. Right. There's always relapses. There's always, shortcomings. There's that journey is never linear. Just like a weight loss journey is never linear. You're gonna start here and you'll end here if you do it right, but in between it's gonna look like a heart monitor of ups and downs. Right. The same way with almost any other journey. I mean, there's gonna be, that's where being gentle to yourself comes in. It takes time to unwire behaviors that are hardwired into our mind. It takes a lot of time. And, we didn't become that way overnight, so it's not going to dissipate overnight. And so having a program where, like, for instance, if my clients have trouble with soda, for instance, it'd be like, hey, I got to have soda. I'm like, don't cut it out completely. Don't cut it out completely. What we're going to do is gradually decrease over time. Try to taper it off. Understand the feeling before the feeling. There's always a feeling that makes you want to have that Coke. There's always something. Is it stress? Is it, what are you trying to escape? What are you trying to soothe with the said behavior? There's some kind of thing you're trying to escape from. So being mindful of that often leads to a change in behavior down the road. But just scolding someone or saying, don't do that, isn't going to help, because it's coming from something else that they've learned to use that to medicate in some way. Food is no different from any other addiction.
Yeah, and I find myself, I'm on both sides of that equation. I think it's it's that soothing factor. We're conditioned, at least in our culture, we were conditioned. You had a bad day today. Well, let's go get something to, let's go to the Dairy Queen. We'll get an ice cream. That'll fix you up. Or, oh my gosh, things went good for you. You got a promotion today. Well, let's go out and eat. Or, then it's like, you get stressed, sad, you have that little food. But the other thing that I've kind of picked up on myself is the fun factor. Whenever I've used this example before, but it's like I was all excited one day. I thought Terry was I thought she was going to Chick-fil-A and going to bring me a Chick-fil-A sandwich home, and then she said, oh no, there's some fish and some green beans in the refrigerator. And I was like, oh,
I fixed you a little to-go box.
Yeah, and I just felt the air go out of my body, like, oh my gosh, that's no fun. And so, but we, with COVID, we don't go out and eat and don't go, see the kids, because we would meet at a, place and have some hors d'oeuvres and maybe a drink or something, and just being out in public. I mean, we don't get to do that a lot anymore, but that is a big takeaway, is that fun factor for some of us too.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And that's another thing that I do is, oftentimes there's a lot of shame and guilt centered around that indulgence. Yeah. I don't like to call them cheat meals. I like to call them indulgence, planned indulgences. I like to call them, kind of less negative.
Sounds better.
And so, with what I do, I find it's way more sustainable to have something you love a couple times a week, because at the end of the day, you're an accumulation of your overall habits, your overall consumption. That is what you're an accumulation of, not what you did one night or 2 nights out of the week. I mean, for instance, if you eat even if you eat 3 meals a day, that's 21 meals a week. If 2 of those are planned indulgences, you're still in that 80-20 margin. So I think, another strategy that I use is, instead of, it's like Sophie and I tried this and we did not do very well. We used to just eat like monks the entire week, and then on the weekends splurge. And what that would lead to is overeating on the weekends, and then we'd feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So instead of that, we started eating an indulgence on Wednesday and then Saturday. So now we have it twice in the week. We tend to eat less in that meal than we would have if we would have waited longer.
Yeah.
And we're getting something every 2 or 3 days to keep us, happy, and we don't feel any shame, no guilt. And so that's a strategy I use with my clients as well, to say, hey, it's okay to have that food that you love to eat, in moderation from time to time, and not feel shame and guilt about it.
Yeah. And as we prepared for this, last night I was doing some reading, and I guess the other thing that, this intuitively, but it kind of came out very strong yesterday, was, people like myself that have a large amount that they want to lose, it can be overwhelming and daunting. And so, what I'm trying to do very hard is shift that from, I'm not focusing on the 100-pound journey. I'm focusing on the 1-pound journey. The 1 or 2 pounds this week, that's what I need to focus on, because like you said, string together 52-pound loss weeks and you've got your 100 all of a sudden. But it can be daunting as somebody that's heavy to think, I've got such a long journey that I'm going to have to take a break and have some M&Ms to kind of get me started here.
Yeah, focus on the next step, not the ladder, is something I always say. Just focus on the next step. You look at the whole ladder, it can be daunting, but
just
when
chipping
you just look
away
at that next step, you can manage, and it becomes a lot more manageable.
You also brought up about it's a culmination of our habits and patterns. And so that's kind of off topic, but there's a book called The Slight Edge that I had read years ago. And it is a great book to kind of explain that whole factor, is that, if you're going through life and you're eating, and you go out and you eat that one McDonald's hamburger, it is not going to hurt you or be bad for you. It's that when you start stringing multiple times of those together, day after week, day after day. And he uses an example of a baseball player that, if some of these guys take batting practice, they hit 10 balls and they're done. If you look at your great hitters, they hit hundreds of balls every day. And it's a constant, just trying to build off of that every day and do better the next day. Yeah,
100%. Absolutely. And with the habits thing, it's you have to look at how habits are created. This is straight from a book I like called Atomic Habits. I'm sure you've heard that book.
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out. Could you say the name of it one more time?
Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, super popular book. But he talks in that book how habits are created, and he uses the example of when you walk into a dark room, you have the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So the cue is you walk into a dark room, it's dark. The craving is I want light. The response is you flip the light switch. The reward is light comes on. And we create habits like that all day, every day. And so when you're trying to instill new habits in your life, having that in mind, if you want to instill a good habit, make the cue obvious, make the craving, something that you really want, something that you desire, make the response easily obtainable, and the reward rewarding. Yeah. So if you can do that with healthy habits, that's a good way to program your habits every day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
The other thing, I think I'm lucky in some respects that I enjoy, my job. I enjoy what I do for a living. And so I tend to spend a lot of time sitting at the computer. All the new research is saying that sitting is the new smoking, and that, that's definitely what's going to kill us all, especially with COVID and, being confined and some people working from home. And, like myself, my commute's about 10 steps, and I sit in a chair, and I got engaged the other day in an analytical project on the computer, and it was like 10:30, and Terry was in here rattling my cage like, okay, you've got to stop, and we're done for the night. But what are some tips or that for people like myself that can kind of break that concentration just to get up and walk away, because it sounds easy, like set an egg timer, get up and go for a walk. But I'm just telling you, even though I want to, it is not that easy sometimes just to break away and do those little things that need to be done. But any advice or any helpful hints you can offer there?
Yeah, I mean, sedentary lifestyle is one of the number one factors that lead to most of the chronic health diseases in this country. And that's something that a lot of the studies surrounding food neglect to mention. That's a huge factor with any kind of diabetes, any kind of heart disease, anything like that. When you have fatalities, they always relate it back to the nutrition, and sometimes don't mention the other big piece, which is the sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
And so what I found is, you have to break down like how we burn calories every day. It's simply, non-exercise activity is a huge bulk of that. So 70% is burned at rest. So your metabolic rate, just breathing, functioning, 70%. And you burn more at rest, the more lean body mass you have. 15% is non-exercise activity. So walking, typing, and that category is going to be higher or lower. All these categories will be higher or lower based on your lifestyle. 10% is from digesting food. So the better your nutrition is, the better that's going to be. And 5% is from exercise. So people make the mistake of thinking that since they put all their effort into that 5%, that 30 minutes to an hour exercise out of their day, and then they go the other 23 hours and they're sedentary, they think that they're going to get in shape. But again, you're an accumulation of your overall habits. So if you only work out an hour of the day and you sit around the other 23 hours of the day, you're not going to reflect someone who exercises for an hour. You're going to reflect someone who's sedentary for 23 hours of the day. So giving people there's perspective on that. What I do with my clients is 10-minute walks. So, and I didn't make that up. I got it from a mentor of mine named Stan Efferding, but 10-minute walks are very effective, especially post-meal. And when you couple them with a meal, you have to get up and get some food eventually. So that sometimes just having the walk by itself isn't enough, like you're saying, to just remember or set a timer. But if you go up and eat, then you're like, okay, before I sit down, I'm going to go on a 10-minute walk. That 10-minute walk is very effective, because instead of a 30-minute walk, if you space that out amongst the day, you're accomplishing many different things. 3 10-minute walks a day, you're getting 30 minutes of sun exposure, probably. So you're getting your vitamin D, which is very important for metabolism, hormones, etc. It's helping you digest your food and uptake those nutrients instantly if you do it post-meal. It's been shown to be very beneficial for blood sugar management, for some people more effective than prescription statins for managing blood sugar. Like it's that effective. Insulin resistance, all kinds of things, blood pressure reduction. So lots of benefits from 10-minute walks. So I have my clients do that. If they can't get out, if it's super cold, a lot of them have like an elliptical, or they just walk around their house. But getting that movement in at least 3 or 4 times a day, especially people who their primary goal is weight loss, is very effective.
Yeah, and I do take some medication for diabetes as well, and that's what I can tell you about my glucose control. Is if I will walk after a meal, I can manage it much, much better than, just eating and coming back and setting. And again, there's just so much to get into with this. I'm trying to take some notes as I listen to you. But so there is some, depending on who you talk to, there is some debate, because I'm hearing more about these 10-minute shorter walks. But how does that compare? Because I had one guy, and this has been a few years ago, that used to train that he was like, 40 minutes. If it's less than that, basically not doing yourself any good. And that was his thing, kind of. Everybody has their thing. But I feel that there's been a lot more research come out in the last few years that if we do 4 10-minute walks a day, we are probably better off than trying to do that 1 40-minute. And I guess maybe it depends on the goals that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, sorry if it froze for just a second. I think it's important to distinguish between exercise activity and non-exercise activity, right? Okay. Like if you're going to do intentional cardio, probably 30. Not that there's less benefit before the 30-minute mark, but generally around 30 minutes is what you want for some kind of low-intensity, steady-state cardio session. Okay. If you're doing interval training, it's a different story. You can go a little bit shorter than that. But exercise activity. So with exercise activity, being such a category, and exercise category when it comes to the way that we burn fat and calories daily, that's a big area of concentration. If you can spread that out throughout the day, you have other factors involved there. You have the blood sugar management there. So like, for example, your blood glucose is very pertinent to your fat loss. If you have, generally lower blood glucose, you're going to have better fat loss. So, the majority of the day. Yeah. So by doing one larger walk, you're getting the benefit right then, and then you're not getting anything the rest of the day. Right, Whereas if you have 3 or 4 10-minute walks spread out throughout the day, you're having longer, better optimal management of your blood glucose. Yeah.
Oops. Well, we kind of broke up there a little bit. I think the point you were making, though, is that those 10-minute walks will help us with a lot more things. And that was another thing to distinguish is that, even though exercise leading up to that weight loss factor, it's minimal. Diet is 80%, the exercise 20%, that weight loss. There's just a lot more physical benefits to our body with getting up and moving, and so we still need to do, because a lot of people think, well, I don't need to exercise, but especially with me, like blood sugar, high blood pressure, things like that, it's still important to make that a big component of our day, just for the other benefits besides the weight loss.
Yeah, it helps with mindset and all of that for everything else across the board, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, I just personally, anecdotally, if I just sit and work all day, my creative energy starts to go down. If Sophie and I, we get up and we go out on a walk and we have some conversation, and I'll come back and I'm so much more productive than if I would have just tried to grit through it all day long.
Oh,
yeah, and she.
That's good and bad.
I just never thought about maybe Terry's sabotaging my exercise, because when we live in an awesome rural type environment where we can get out and walk the dogs, and it really clears my head. And so to your point, if I can go for a 10-15 minute walk and I come back and it's like, man, I've got all these ideas. I'm like, okay, sit down, get your pencil and paper, because I've got all this stuff. And she's like, oh my God.
Well, he didn't even let me sit down. I mean, we're walking 5 minutes and he's like shooting off all this stuff. I'm like, I can't take notes right now. I got to figure out where I'm walking.
But yeah, I think it's amazing what a 10 or 15 minute just to get out and walk clears your head and gives me that much more creativeness. And I feel, like the last few days, it's been a little cooler and I've been inside, but I can kind of feel it's not a brain fog, but it's just like, I don't know how to say it, like a heavy brain. It's just like, it's not as free and flowing as when when you do get that exercise.
Absolutely. One thing I can suggest, Roy, is there's an app called Otter, and it's just you talk, it writes. So maybe having that along while you're on your walk, you can just both. That's what Sophie and I do. We put in it and it writes as we talk, so we don't have to have a pen and paper. Because you never know when inspiration is going to come. You want to be ready when it does.
Right. Yeah. Terry may take you off her Christmas list after you give me that tool. I'll have a lot of stuff for her. No. Well, I'll talk a little bit about your process. I know, COVID has changed a lot of things, but I think your model is pretty much on 100% online anyway. Is that correct?
Yes, we are 100% remote.
Okay. Yeah, and
so we
talk to us about, you were just saying all the different components that go, this isn't, basically you coming on and shouting, give me 10 push-ups and things like that. There's a lot more input from you besides just the, watching somebody do some push-ups or set-ups.
Yeah, I think most people's perceptions, depending on their generation, when I tell them that I'm an online trainer, they think that I'm in their living room, like I'm like C3, them to do burpees or something. And that's like the furthest thing from what we actually do. We are very nutrition focused. So you get a personalized nutrition plan based on what you're trying to achieve. I've been a nutritionist for years, so that's very fully fledged. Years went into this nutrition plan, focused on gut health, hormones, just basically a blueprint for success with your nutrition. So people never have to be in this area of, what the hell do I do? I've Googled one thing and I've gotten 200 different answers.
Right.
So-and-so is doing this, and I don't think that'll work for me. They have that blueprint forever. So that's number one. Number two is, yes, we do training plans as well. We have our own training platform where we can give you, there's video demonstrations. If you're, especially right now, if you're trapped at home, your gym's closed, whatever's going on, at home workouts, that's really big right now. So we have, with resistance bands, free, whatever we have available. My wife, Sophie, she gets active as a live stream in our Facebook group every week where she does an at-home workout, and that helps a lot for people who need, because it's hard to keep it fun at home with working out, finding new things you can do to challenge yourself. So we make sure that we meet them there with that. The biggest part of what we do, though, is the accountability. So we have a Facebook group, hundreds of women, have similar, are crushing it because they have surrounded themselves with a group of women who are going on in their lives, what's going on in the meet, whatever. They have this group to go to, and it's always 100% going to be positive. It's going to be a positive influence on their life. It's going to be lifting. It's going to keep them focused on their goals. So we have that community where we do free challenges every week, give away free prizes for those challenges. Sophie and I do 5 live streams a week in that group right now. We're adding more every month, it seems like.
Oh, wow.
We do group calls. We all get on Zoom just like this, but there's 30 of us, and we celebrate wins. I answer questions throughout the week in depth. And they have access to us around the clock. So any questions that get asked, they get answered. We're there for anything they need. We do weekly check-ins. We do one-on-one responses to those check-ins. It's just about as involved as you can get with an online coaching program. And that's why it's seen the success that it has.
So what does your client look like? I mean, I know you're transforming women, but is there at a certain fitness level? What's your client?
So our ideal avatar is women 30 plus who, primarily weight loss, but we work with just body composition type clients as well. All levels of their journey in fitness. Our job as a coach is to meet you where you're at and take you the next step. So for instance, I had a lady in my program this past year named Tammy, who at the start of the program, she couldn't even, get off the floor, get down on the floor, do any exercises. So we started with walking. We started with just, addressing the nutrition, addressing the mindset stuff she had going on, centered around food, and just started with walking. And over the past year, she dropped 60 pounds, and she's now jogging in the gym for the first time in her life. I actually got on a FaceTime call with her and showed her how to use the different machines, and she's crushing it. She's doing things she hasn't done in 30 years. And so that's someone who didn't even know how to exercise or wasn't even able to, who is now doing all those things. So that's what we can do with someone, even not being there in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that support is such an important component in this, and not only for the exercise part, but for the eating part. I mean, because as we go through this, we have questions. Sometimes it's like, oh, let's just go ahead and slide one by. And if you have somebody that, you can reach out to, or if you're going to have to face somebody at the end of this week and say, what did we eat? You tend to change your mindset a lot more.
But, but they don't, the thing is though, this is what's lacking in this industry is they can't be afraid to come to you at an off week, or if they made a mistake.
Right.
I think a big stigma is, oh no, I messed up. Either I'm not going to track this, because we can see all their food. So it's like, either I'm going to track this and I'm going to lie, or I'm just not going to tell them. And, because I've been doing this long enough to know what progress should be looking like based on what I see on their nutrition. So the key with being a good coach, in my opinion, is they're comfortable enough to come to me and say, hey, Tuesday I had, 12 ounces of wine and this. Like, cool, that's totally fine, because the rest of the week you did really well. Right. Going forward, here's what we're going to do. What else is going on? Are you stressed? Okay, you're just closed on your house, so you guys are really stressed, packing your house up. Got it. That makes sense. Don't worry about it. Let's go forward. Let's keep establishing good habits. We're good to go. Having that kind of mentality, okay, I made a mistake, or I ate off plan or whatever, but it's going to be okay long term, and not punishing them for it and being a drill sergeant. just with me and women, because I'm a 250-pound Army veteran. So for them to be able to trust me with their fitness, I have to have empathy and I have to be understanding. And so that's another reason why I love working with women, because I've been able to cross that threshold and understand stuff they're going through to the best of my ability, not having that firsthand experience. That's where Sophie comes in. She's the firsthand experience.
And that's a good point. We're hard enough on ourselves, and being able to work with somebody you trust that you can come to, because that gives you the opportunity to build me up and say, you know what, ate a few tacos the other day. It's not the end of the world. And because the sad thing is we do bad and then we give up, and then the trajectory just goes downhill from there. And it's like, even if we could just make a little bit of a comeback from a bad day or two, we're still going to be way ahead of the game moving forward. So it's so important to have that reassurance.
Yeah, and that empathy factor is a huge deal, especially when you're dealing with women, because they don't need the harsh words. They just don't need the guilt and the shame. We pile enough of that stuff on as it is. We need somebody who's going to be able to understand.
Right. And just listen, not try to fix.
That's right.
And at the end of a month, if they've instilled all these new habits and they're doing all these new things, at the end of a month, when they look back and they're like, wow, like I've actually come a really long way, despite me sabotaging or trying to mentally sabotage myself every step of the way. I've actually come a really long way. So then I have that progress to look back on. This is all this stuff, doing a great job, and that builds momentum with them, instead of afraid to tell me I can't rule never as a coach.
Yeah.
Right. I do have one question about something that also came up yesterday. Are you familiar with the TRX bands? Those yellow bands? Are those pretty decent for... I mean, I know I see a lot of, you can do so much with them. And at one time, the gym I go to, they had one in there and they've since removed them. But, those, I just wonder if the time spent on those doing some things is worth the effort to get one.
I think that they are a great addition. If you don't have access to free weights, because in my opinion, free weights are always going to be the best. Right. However, if your gym's closed, they're a fantastic piece to have for maintenance or even some progress, depending on where you're at in your journey. Okay. Absolutely, TRX bands have their place, and even if you do have access to free weights, they have their place in a program for extra stimulus. I mean, you have to use a lot of stabilizers with TRX. Yeah. I think they're a fantastic invention and a great addition, but I wouldn't, if I had access to free weights, I wouldn't base my entire...
Okay. Yeah, and you brought up a good point about, about the free weights. And if you don't mind explaining the difference between, like in the old days, the universal machine, and it kind of set the stage for those that may not understand. The weights are on guides, and so you push the weight up and down for sure. But with free weights, there are a lot of stabilizer muscles that you have to use and get benefit of that as well. If you would kind of expound on that just a little bit.
There's just less variability. There's less margin of error with free weights. I mean, the resistance is always gravity, and you can't cheat gravity. You can't, do anything but the exercise. And I know it can be intimidating for a lot of people, especially in the free weight section of a gym, right, to go in there and not experienced with it, to give it a try. But it is the most effective form of changing your body. At the end of the day, it will always be the most effective form. With machines, you have to worry about who they're built for. You have to worry about a lot of other advanced principles. I mean, a lot, like me, for instance, I have to finagle myself into every single machine because I'm so large, to get the proper angle for the exercise to even be effective. Yeah. I mean, it's, it's to feel where I want to in the target muscle. So I'm imagining someone who's brand new to exercise trying to make that connection while they're in a machine. It's hard. And without someone guiding you, machines just are not going to be as effective because you're rolling the dice with if you're even doing the exercise correct or feeling it in the right spot to begin with. In my opinion, machines are a lot more advanced.
Oh, sorry about that. We have some
guests.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
hush.
Ada.
Oh my goodness, that scared me to death. I thought we were under attack for a minute.
Better check your heart.
Yeah. Okay.
Ada, come on now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry about that outburst. Oh my gosh, that was loud.
Don't worry.
Broke my train of thought. So yeah. So anyway, that's the difference in the free weights and the machine types. The other thing is I think on the nutritional side, the importance of journaling, not only so we know, but so we can look back, because I think, like for us, one thing that we learned, it wasn't as much as for the calorie count, although that's nice and helpful. It's for all the other things that we don't know are in food. And so, kind of an exercise for us when we started cooking more, quit doing more fast food or easy takeout stuff. It's, even the prepackaged food in the grocery store, when you put that into some kind of a nutritional app, you are just blown away at all the stuff. And, mainly we'll say probably salt was the big one that always got our attention. But, there's just a lot of other stuff that's in there that is not really probably what we want to be putting in our body. So anyway, that's kind of a twofold thing, is the prepackaged versus the fresh, but also, just that importance for journaling. So not only do we know what we're eating, we can be true to ourselves. And then if we don't lose weight this week, or if we don't lose enough, we can kind of look back and say, well, here's exactly why.
Oh my gosh, it's so important. It's so important because, gosh, for so many reasons. Number one, becoming aware calorically of what you're intaking on a daily basis.
Right.
I mean, that's where fad diets miss the mark big time with messing people up, is because, yes, you'll lose a little bit of weight by cutting out entire food groups, but if you don't understand what a plate of food is supposed to look like for your personal goals, I mean, that's a tool you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Right. So with my clients, I always tell them, the mindset is you're not going to track calories for the rest of your life, but doing so for a certain amount of time gives you that invaluable tool of knowing what a serving for you should look like. And it's different for everyone. And especially for couples, I find that with my couples, there's a huge disparity. They'll realize, holy crap, I was eating as much as he was, just because we're around each other all the time. And that's why I was putting on weight, because that's a full grown man and I'm a woman, and that's not okay for me. Individually what they should be eating. Yeah. The other thing is, you learn what, like you said, what nutrients are in each foods. If you need this many carbohydrates, what's a good food for carbohydrates? What's a good food for protein? What's a good food for protein that isn't loaded in fat, or a good source of carbohydrates that's not loaded in sugar? I mean, your fiber, it gives you so many tools to take with you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And it can help you understand what your weekly intake is, let alone your daily. So with weight loss, especially, if your maintenance amount of calories is 2,000 and you eat 1,800 every day, Monday through Friday, right? So that's 200 times 5. So that's 1,000 calorie deficit for the week. But then on Saturday and Sunday, you eat, so far over your maintenance, you eat in a surplus that it puts you at a surplus for the week. Right. You're going to have a hard time losing weight. So realizing that as well helps a lot of people. They're like, oh, this is why I'm not losing weight, because although I was eating well Monday through Friday, I was eating so much on Saturday and Sunday, it was completely sabotaging me. It comes down to your weekly caloric intake as well. And that's why, the weekend can kill people, because they they binge and they don't realize how far over their maintenance calories they go. So again, there's some push-pull with this debate, because a lot of people think that counting calories can create some unhealthy eating habits, but I think that's when people try to without that feedback, and then you get into weight loss and how the scale and everything, and how your body fluctuates week to week and everything else. But just keeping that food diary is so important to also realize, if you eat something inflammatory, you can go back and see what it was. It's like, okay, I ate this, I felt like crap after, or I feel like crap today. What did I eat yesterday? And you can look back and be like, okay, there's something going on with those egg whites.
Right.
Yeah, and I just read an article about that calorie counting, and I think there's it's a good distinction to make, that just tracking what we eat and put in our body is so much different than making a decision based on that, like, oh, well, I'm cutting these calories down to some absurd level or things like that. And so it also, like myself, one thing I knew years ago, I started, when I was eating bad, I took a lot of supplements because I knew I wasn't getting the nutrients. And then the other great benefit of tracking is we are able, and chronometer, I think, is the one that we use. It has a very good nutrient tracking in it. And so
Everything.
what it's done is it allows us to adjust our meals to try to make sure we're getting all these vitamins and nutrients instead of having to take a supplement. And it's been an invaluable tool for us.
Yeah, so we've cut out a lot
Always
of the
going to absorb
supplements.
better through food,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing on that note is my clients who have been on blood pressure meds, I've gotten, I want to say like 35 people off of blood pressure medication now over the past 2 years. And the only thing I do is I say, hey, we're going to track your potassium for the next couple months. And I want you to get 4,700 milligrams of potassium every single day from food. And over the course of 2 months, their blood pressure goes
All
normal
right.
range.
That's good to know.
Just from doing that.
Yeah.
And 10-minute walks and some weight loss, but that mineral balance. So they have to track calories to know how much potassium they're getting, obviously.
Right.
So that just knowing that balancing their minerals, because potassium is so important for blood pressure, and just mineral balance overall. And they feel so much better. And obviously, it's coupled with some weight loss and being more active. But that potassium piece, they have to track calories to know that.
Right.
Like that. You
Yeah.
need some potassium, honey.
Yep. Certainly do. All right. Well, Terry, have you got anything else?
No, this has been. I really like that you guys split it up. Instead of doing having your nutrition program Monday through eating correctly Monday through Friday, and then I think of it as celebrating Saturday and Sunday. I like that y'all split it up to Wednesday and Saturday, because we need 2 days. We have to have 2 days of celebration, sort of. I think. I don't
Agreed.
know.
Oh, I tell you what. One
Correct.
other point I wanted to make that you brought up about the calories in and out. I challenge everybody to get a pen and paper. I mean, actually, don't do a calculator. Get a pen and paper out.
Old fashioned.
And Maverick, I'm gonna let you just tell me if I've got this right, okay? But 3,500 calories is what equals a pound, correct?
What equals a pound?
Yeah. Then if you 3,500 calories. If you eat, well, I guess let's say 2,000 is your mark. If you eat 3,500 calories over that, you would gain a pound per week. And or what?
So 1,500 calories over your maintenance.
I'm sorry now.
So 1,500 calories over your maintenance is what you're saying?
No, just basically that if you want to lose weight, let's say you want to lose a pound over a week, you would have to adjust your calorie intake or exercise or however by 3,500 calories to achieve that pound.
It's hard, that's hard to say because there's so many other variables.
Oh, okay.
It's like I have to have, like, so with my clients, I'll have an initial questionnaire where they tell me, what's your scale of 1 to 5? What's your activity level? What weight are you now? Are you currently tracking calories? I get some information with which to generate a caloric goal for them to hit the first 2 or 3 weeks. And that will move for the first 2 or 3 or establish a baseline response to that. And everyone's energy balance is different on different days. So that's why, it's imperative that if you're doing this on your own, especially, you stick to something calorie wise for at least 3 weeks to a month to account for the variabilities in your activity. So stress, with women, hormones every month, with, water retention, with any kind of other activity that's going up or down in your life. I mean, you're gonna burn more calories on different days. So that's why it's imperative to stick to one number for 2 or 3 weeks to see what your weight does. Yeah. And then once you see what it does, let's just say that it stays exactly the same, then you would bring your calories down 150 to 200 calories and do the same thing and repeat. That process is not sexy and it's not what people want to hear, but that's the best way to lose weight and keep it off and not have to do something extreme with your nutrition. So if you don't want to completely cut carbohydrates and things you love out of your life, this is the way to do it, and you're going to learn how to do it for the rest of your life, and not have to do something that ultimately probably won't be sustainable and put you in a mode of disparity and frustration and failure again because it didn't stick.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess what the point I was going to make, and maybe after you find that equilibrium for yourself, you see kind of what those calorie, the difference is for you to lose that pound. But if you actually put it on paper and do the math, I think we find that what I have found for me anyway is having that little extra snack, the little extra M&M things, it adds a lot. I mean, just one little package of candy will take away so much from your week, or add more that you have to try to reduce. But the converse of that is that if you get on just a treadmill and walk at a fairly good pace, you will see that the calories reduced by that are so small in comparison to eating that package of M&Ms. And that's one thing that has really woken me up, is I think it takes me 5 minutes to eat a candy bar, M&Ms, chips, or whatever, and I can go to the gym and basically it takes you 4 hours of a decent walk just to burn off that one little indulgence that we had. And I'm not trying to stress that we've got to cut everything out, but I think I just wanted to look at things from the mathematical side of how we sabotage ourselves, and then what you would physically have to do to overcome it. I think it makes me personally make a lot better nutritional decisions, trying to do the math, because it's incredible. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. And the category that I laid out at the beginning of this chat, calories you burn at rest with non-exercise activity, as you cumulatively do those things better, as you have a better body composition, as you have more lean body mass compared to body fat, all those categories are going to get higher. So once that happens and your metabolic rate comes up, you can get away with eating, your things you love to eat in larger amounts or more frequently than you could before, when you were in poor health, or you had a higher body fat percentage and everything else. You were more sedentary. As those other categories get higher, you can actually indulge more often and not see the effects as much as you used to. And then clients have found that as well.
Well, one more thing, I know we've run way over, which is, it's awesome. I mean, we've had a good conversation, but it's like every time you say something, it just sparks another idea. It's like as we put on muscle, or as we reduce the fat, there's the difference that, and I think this goes back to the walking versus doing even. Again, this is all a balanced approach. So I'm not saying do one, don't do the other. It's more of where we spend our time. We need to do the cardio and get that, but the weightlifting part, as we build muscles, those muscles will continue to burn fat, I guess, for a longer period of time, where, if I'm not wrong, the cardio, we pretty much get what you get right up until you quit. And then but building that lean muscle mass will help continue to burn calories through the rest of the day.
Yeah, your body responds to the stimulus you provide it, and cardio doesn't build muscles. So in order to create that lean feminine muscle that women want, it comes down to, you have to do some sort of resistance training to stimulate the muscle growth. Right. And that's always a line that I have to toe with women, especially because if you say muscle, if you say you're building your body, they automatically just picture Arnold Schwarzenegger in their head. They're like, no, I don't want that. I don't want big traps. I don't want shoulders.
Right.
And so getting past that mindset of, look, every fitness model you see, and granted, a lot of them are probably Photoshop, but every ideal body that you see on TV or whatever, they lift weights, all of them, every last one. There's no way you can build a lean, feminine muscle type of body without lifting weights, without doing that. So yes, the muscle you burn more at rest, because your base metabolic rate has to be higher to accommodate that. I mean, you have to eat more to accommodate that muscle growth, and that's great news for most people. It's like, hey, you get to eat more. You put on some muscle and
right.
Yeah, and muscle is less muscle's more dense than fat. So you can, the more muscle you gain, the thinner you're actually going to get, because
Right.
muscle takes up less space, the same weight that body fat does.
One more thing, and I promise we're done.
That's what he keeps saying.
I know. But the somebody like myself who likes to eat at night, I think somebody had told me a long time ago that fixing a protein shake, or even if you have to have that little snack, to make sure that it's more protein based than intuitively better than a bowl of ice cream or a bag of chips for sure. But if you eat that protein, when you get a little bit hungry late in the evening like that, then your body will burn that through the night. Is there some truth to that?
Yeah, like the myth, the whole notion that eating right before bed will make you more prone to gaining body fat's a complete myth. I mean, again, it always comes down to your overall energy balance. I mean, it doesn't matter I would never recommend someone do this, but if your maintenance amount of calories to maintain your weight is 2,000 and you don't eat all day, and then you eat 2,000 calories right before your head hits the pillow, you're not going to gain weight, because you're still in that maintenance. At the end of the day, in 24 hours, you didn't consume a caloric surplus. So
Right.
although that's not ideal for metabolism,
Right,
it still comes down to that no matter what. So what matters is your overall caloric intake for the day. So eating closer to bed doesn't affect that. But as far as like what I recommend in my program for people who have that type of craving, I look at what they're eating throughout the rest of the day. If they're getting their fructose in from tropical fruits, so oftentimes cravings are a result of a mineral imbalance or mineral deficiency. So we address that first. But there's different things you can do. There's different creative little things. There's a protein supplement I recommend all my clients. It's just collagen hydrolysate. It's just collagen protein from bovine collagen types 1 and 3. Really, really good for your digestion, gut health, really good for your skin, hair, bones. So it's a great product for women especially. But they have a berry flavor, and so you can mix that with yogurt. You can make little overnight oats with that, make little snacks. Protein shake is fine as well, but there's all kinds of creative little things you can do. There's also an amino acid, it's called EAAs, essential amino acids, that I recommend for people. And what you can do is a little trick I learned a long time ago. You blend it up with ice and just make like a slushie and eat it with a spoon. You're tricking your body into thinking you're having like a tasty treat.
Right,
and it actually tastes really good, and it's really good for you. So that's like little things I can do here and there.
All right, awesome. Well, I promise I'm cutting it off. No more. What we'll have to do, though, is promise to come back and be a guest again.
Oh, yeah.
So we can, there's just so much to cover. And then, of course, we can get so in-depth on so many subjects that we could talk for hours. But I do appreciate you coming on. So is there a tool that you use in your, and it could be a workout tool or a nutritional tool, but is there something that you do in your daily life that you just can't do without, or something that really adds a lot of value?
For my life, I use I like my MyFitnessPal as the nutrition tracker of choice. I know there's different ones out there. I just find that's the easiest one. You can scan barcodes. It's safe. You can save recipes. It's safe for most frequently entered foods. So as far as just being aware of my caloric intake, I think that's probably the one I would recommend most. It's the one I use for my clients. I think bang for your buck. That's going to be probably the best thing.
The good thing about MyFitnessPal too is they put out a lot of good articles on nutrition and exercise, and just a lot of good material as well.
Yeah, I've got an article coming out with them in a couple of days, I think, about protein consumption. They got published in there. For that, so.
We'll look for that.
Okay. Well, great. Well, tell everybody again just who is your client, what you can do for them, and then, of course, how they can reach out and get a hold of you.
Yeah, so women 30 plus who, moms, busy women who, have their body has changed since high school. Having trouble dropping stubborn body fat, stubborn weight, and just looking for an answer when they're tired of Googling one thing, getting 200 different answers. They're tired of the fad diets. They don't want to restrict themselves. They want to create time and reduce stress in their life, and finally have that one-stop answer for nutrition and wellness and mindset, the whole shebang. That's who we're looking to help them get their life back, their empowerment back, and be the best they can, so their family can be the best they can be. Because when the matriarch is at their best, the rest of the family runs like a whirlwind.
Amen.
So, Mama's not happy, nobody's happy.
Exactly, 100%. But I'm Maverick Willett, simply Maverick Willett on Instagram, same thing on Facebook, and we are website's under construction, but it's coming soon. But yeah, just for now, just Maverick_Willett on Instagram be a good way to find us.
Okay, great. Y'all reach out and let Maverick help y'all out. I know he could do great things with you. So again, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. This is going to be it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. Thanks for joining us. Again, you can find us at www.feedingfatty.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also when we publish this episode, the video will go up on YouTube. So we look forward to hearing from you. If you've got a good story, reach out to us. Also, if you're a professional, in the nutritional exercise, anything to do, mindset, anything to do with getting us healthy, reach out. We'd love to hear from you as well. So until next time, take care of each other and take care of yourself. I'm Roy.
I'm Terry. Thank you, Maverick. We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me.